Hey guys, welcome to Unlocking Potential podcast. Today I want to talk about life coaching for men. I want to talk about how men deal with stress. I want to talk about how men deal with life and some of the strategies they use that really don't work. So, what I've noticed, and I've noticed this in myself, I've noticed this in my friends, I've noticed this in clients, I've noticed that men suffer in silence. For whatever reason, maybe we've just been taught to do this. Maybe we've just seen it on television. We've just been told that this is what men do. This is how men handle problems. But we just, in general, will suffer in silence. And we will just kind of deal with it and just kind of hold it in, stuff it down. And we may not be comfortable talking about it, even to our best friends, for years. And we may never ask for help. We may never ask for help for a couple of reasons. Maybe we think we can figure it out on our own. Maybe we don't think anybody really can help us. Maybe they don't have the solution. They don't have the resources. So we kind of hold it inside, we tough it out alone. And the problem with that is it doesn't really work in the long run. Something will either collapse, and we all know someone who's ended their life without even telling anyone, without ever asking for help. Or it could show up in some illness. It could show up in something that could cause us to become sick. And we can, get sick and die. Or it could go the other way. It could come out. It could cause us to kind of unleash, explode, and be in anger, in cruelty, in resentment. And it's usually the people we love the most, the people who are closest to us, that will experience the worst side of us. And the reason for that is because that's who we feel the most safe around. That's who we feel the most open around. So men will suffer in silence. It might be relationship issues. It might be loneliness. It might be depression. Could even just be physical pain. And, it kind of makes sense. Like sometimes, why would we want to talk about our problems? We don't really want to just talk about our problems for the sake of complaining. We actually want solutions. That's really what we want. And I think we kind of know sometimes that by just rehashing and retelling our old story and bringing up old pain and old trauma, it can just make things worse. We bring it up, we feel horrible, we feel terrible. And then what? That's it. No one has ever taught us any strategies or any tools of how to deal with life and how to deal with our emotions. So we just kind of hide everything, we kind of stuff it down, and we do what we can. So I do want to teach men and women that there is another way. The thing to understand is that pain needs processing. Even if we don't work on our individual experiences, our individual traumatic experiences, those experiences leave echoes of pain. Those are our feelings and emotions. So we can begin dealing with those before even going deep into the actual events. And life needs processing. Throughout life, there's going to be all kinds of new challenges, new pain, new suffering, new stressors. The stressors are going to keep stacking up. It's a part of life. We're going to have our traumas from our childhood. Then we're going to have our challenges in during our teenage years. We're going to have broken hearts. We're going to have friendship problems, maybe problems with the law. Then we're going to have money problems, trying to get educated, trying to make a living. Then we're going to have relationship issues, trying to find a partner, trying to get along with that partner. Then we might have kids. Now we got kid issues, trying to support them, trying to help them through their activities, trying to help them with their challenges. Maybe they have health challenges. Maybe we have problems at work with our bosses, with our coworkers, with our friends, with our family, with our parents. Then you'll reach a certain age where your parents start to get sick. Now you got a whole nother level of stress. Now you got to take care of them. Now you got to help them. Maybe they need financial help. Maybe they need physical help. They need checking on. And at the same time, now you start to question your life. Where's your purpose? What have you done with your life? There's another stress. Now you got identity stressors. Now you got purpose. Maybe you lose a parent. Maybe you lose a child or a spouse to illness. Now you've got grief. Maybe you end up getting sick. Maybe you lose your physical capabilities that you used to have. Now you've got grief for losing things you used to be able to do. Life is going to throw all of these stressors at you. That's just the way it is. You can't escape the suffering. This is what Buddhism teaches. Life is suffering. Sickness, illness, death, loss, it's all a part of life. We'll keep going. Let me keep going. So we've established that life is it's going to have its hardships. You cannot escape the hardships of life. So what do we do? How do we deal with this? How do we deal with this? Do we distract ourselves? Do we drink? Do we do drugs? Do we do social media? Do we just tune it all out? Do we just watch the news and watch TV and watch Game of Thrones and just try to ignore it all? Where's that going to leave us? Where's that going to leave us when we're on our deathbed and we're looking at our life and we ask ourselves, what have we done with our life? Have we done anything meaningful? Have we contributed somehow? So when these events happen in our life, which are inevitable, these are changes. Life is permanent change. The only thing that is permanent is change. This is a Buddhism quote. Life is constantly changing and transforming. So how do we adapt to these changes? The things around us are going to change. Our friends are going to change. Our relationships are going to change. Our children are going to change. The economy is going to change. How do we deal with that? Whenever there's a change, we judge the change as either positive or negative. And when we judge it as positive or negative, we create a charge. And whenever we have a charge, an emotional charge, just like an electrical charge, now we get a feeling. And the feeling can either be positive or negative. So this feeling, this charge is created from a perception. Could be a set of beliefs. It could be a pattern we've noticed. Maybe we might notice a pattern. The world is becoming worse and worse and worse over the years. So that's our pattern we've perceived. Now we have a perception. The world is only getting worse. Or maybe the perception is we've noticed over time a pattern that people have disappointed us. So now we believe we can't trust others. Or whatever the pattern is, it might be something related to our ethnicity. And all of the people of my ethnicity are poor. And that's a pattern that we've perceived. And now we completely believe that perception as true. And now we created a self-fulfilling prophecy, and we just stay stuck in that pattern. We become a part of that pattern. So what can we do? First off, we need to start processing our pain, processing our emotions. And all this means is giving ourselves permission to feel, allowing ourselves to feel the emotion. Maybe it's fear. Maybe there is a goal. There's something we want to accomplish. And as we think about doing it, as we even just think the thought of doing it, of fear, we react to our own thought, and fear hits us. Our heart rate increases, our throat tightens, our body tenses. And as soon as we feel that fear, we choose to no longer think that thought. We just completely avoid feeling the feeling again. And now that goal never happens. It was a great goal. It was a great idea, but it never became anything because we avoided the feeling of fear. We didn't avoid the person, the place, or the thing, or the opinions of others. We avoided the feeling within ourselves. So think the thought, the goal that scares you, and feel the fear. Allow yourself to feel it. Let it in. Welcome that feeling of fear. Think that thought. Think about the judgment you're going to get from others. Think about the criticism you're going to get. Think about the people that are going to laugh at you and they're going to tell you that this is never going to work out, that your idea is stupid. Feel that, all that fear, feel that humiliation. Allow that feeling to come through you and just reach its peak. No longer avoiding that feeling, no longer being afraid to feel that feeling. We're actually embracing our pain, embracing the uncomfortable emotions. And then ask yourself, could I let this go? Could I let this feeling go? Would I let this feeling go? Would I rather keep it? Can you think of a good reason to keep it? When would you let it go? How long are you going to let this feeling run you? How long are you going to let this feeling control you and these other people's opinions and all these thoughts in your head that create this feeling? How long are you going to let this feeling take control of you and limit you? Now ask yourself, who would you be without this feeling of fear? Without this feeling of fear, and you're taking action, you're going after your goal, who would you be? How would you feel without that feeling of fear? What would you be doing without that feeling of fear? Allow yourself to embody this higher version of yourself where you have let go of this fear. Now, who would you be if you took action? What's the first action you would need to take? What's the smallest bit of action you would need to take to move the momentum of your life in the direction of this goal? The tiniest bit of action, 1%, will move you towards this goal. 1%. Maybe it's just creating a to-do list. Maybe it's just looking something up on Google. What's the smallest thing you could do to move yourself towards this goal? And who would you be if you took this action? You started going in that direction. Who would you be if you took another action and another action? Who could you become? And allow yourself to embody that. So that was a simple exercise, just allowing yourself to feel fear. And that was for an example of going after a goal. What if it's something else? What if it's something like grief? One of the worst, most painful emotions we can feel. And literally, there is very little awareness on how to deal with grief. People just don't know how to deal with grief. They say grief takes time. They talk about the 5 stages of grief. What about welcoming the feeling? What about welcoming that pain, that loss? Allowing yourself to feel that pain deep inside of you, in your heart. Giving yourself permission to feel the grief, to cry, to feel that sadness, to miss that person. What if you really let yourself feel it? Could you let that feeling go? Maybe, maybe not. Would you let that feeling go? This is a big one. Well, if I let that feeling go, maybe that means I don't love them anymore. Maybe that means I don't care about them. Is that true? If you let go of pain, does that mean you stop loving someone? So would you let it go? Would you rather continually feeling this feeling? When would you finally let this feeling go? And who would you be if you let go of the feeling of pain and grief? Who would you be? If you let go of that feeling and you finally gave yourself permission to feel happy, to feel joy again, to feel love again, who would you be? You'd be a human being who once loved someone, who once had someone, and now they've moved on. They have left this planet. They have went missing. They have moved on if it was a relationship. And now you are ready to move on too. You're a person who's giving yourself permission to be happy. Ask yourself what you miss the most about this person. What is it that you miss the most? What do you think is no longer existing? When you figure out exactly what you think is no longer around you, maybe it was their sense of humor, maybe it was their protection, maybe it was their kindness, their kind words. Take a moment and realize that whatever it is that you miss about them, it exists. It still exists around you in a new form. There's always kindness around you. There's always encouraging words. There's protection. There is humor, if that's what you missed about them. Whatever it is you miss about them, it's still here. So as you go through life, as you go through life's changes, allow yourself to welcome these emotions. Allow yourself to feel. Give yourself permission to feel. And then ask yourself, could I let this feeling go? Would I let this feeling go? When? Who would I be without this feeling? This is a practice you can do anytime, anywhere. You can do this while you're driving. You can do this while you're walking. You can do this while you're working. You can sit down and meditate and allow yourself to feel the feelings that arise. And as you go through, you'll begin processing various emotions. So maybe you first process fear, or maybe you first process shame. And as you process shame, fear arises. Now you go through the same process. You process fear. As you process fear, anger arises, pride arises. Keep going through. You will probably never run out of emotions to process, but in the beginning, you'll go through a lot. You'll feel a lot and you'll let go of a lot. But then you'll reach a plateau, you'll reach a calm. This is a technique I've learned. It's called the Sedona method, and it was created by Lester Levinson. And the story goes is that he was a wealthy businessman who had cancer, and he was told he, only had a few months to live. So he rented out the penthouse in the top of the New York building, and he locked himself in there. And he realized he had a lot of pent up emotions that needed to be released, that needed to be felt. So he did this process, and it wasn't as formalized, but he just allowed himself to feel and then let go and feel and let go. And once you get good at this, it becomes very easy to feel and let go. Occasionally, you'll get a very, very strongly attached feeling. And this could take weeks, this could take months of feeling it first. But you do come out on the other side. And every time you feel a feeling and process it completely, it's like you level up. It's like you have just gained points, experience points. Gamers out there know what I'm talking about. So every time you process your emotions, you level up, and you now can say, I'm not afraid of that feeling anymore. I've been through that. I know I can handle that. So it strengthens you. It's like weightlifting. And as you can see, this is the exact opposite of stuffing the feeling down, pushing the feeling away. You can never escape a feeling. You can never push it away and not have it come back. But you can go through the feeling, face the feeling, and go through the feeling. And that's part of growth. That's how you grow. And as you do this, you'll notice something very interesting. After you release, you process an emotion and you release the emotion, something shifts inside of you. Your perspective will shift, and you'll see your situation objectively. You will see yourself compassionately. You won't be so judgmental and harsh on yourself. You will see yourself as just a human being, just a soul who's doing their best in this world to be happy, to help others, to live their life. And as you release these emotions, you realize all the judgments, all the beliefs that you had about your situation, about yourself, none of it was true. It was just an illusion. It was just a false set of beliefs, a false set of illusions. And that's where the phrase, the truth will set you free, that's what it means. When you can see the truth about yourself and about the world and about others, and you can see reality clearly and objectively without any bias, then there's no longer an emotional charge. When you see the world accurately, your mind no longer has a charge. It's neutral, it's balanced. And this is quite interesting because if we're seeing the world as it is, that also means that the world is balanced. That this universe, this world, this realm, whatever we live in here, is balanced. And this is another connecting this back to what this world is made out of. It's made out of matter, and matter is made out of energy. And energy cannot be created nor destroyed. Energy is infinite. So if everything around us in this physical world is made out of energy, then everything in this physical world is also infinite. And infinity cannot be imbalanced. Infinity is perfectly balanced. There's no loss within infinity. So when we perceive grief, it's also an illusion. What you miss has not been destroyed, it's been transformed. Within infinity, everything is always present. There is never anything missing within infinity. Within infinity, everything is also connected. There's nothing disconnected. Within infinity, there is no limitation. There's no scarcity. So if you ever perceive scarcity, limitation, you are seeing an illusion. You're not seeing reality as it is. Within infinity, there's balance. There's a balance of positive and there's a balance of negative. So if you ever desire a world or a life that is all positive, then that is just a fantasy. It's never going to exist. If you perceive a world or a life that's all negative, that is also a nightmare. That which does not exist. It's also an illusion. So once you see that every moment in your life, every event in your life is a perfect balance of positive and negative, a perfect balance of gain and loss, a perfect balance of challenge and support. Once you start to see every single moment in your life as both, you'll start to realize that this universe is nothing but love. Why is it love? Why is a balance love? If it were to be imbalanced, if it was to be more positive than negative, you would become weak. You'd become complacent. You'd become lazy. If this world was purely challenged, pure challenge, difficulty, hardship, drudgery, you'd become stifled. You'd become crushed. So, and some events in our life feel that way. So we need to go to those moments, go to the moment where you perceived the greatest challenge of your life, the worst memory of your entire life. And in that moment, who was supporting you? Who was doing the exact opposite towards you? If someone was bringing you down, who was bringing you up? If someone was trying to hurt you, who was trying to protect you? In that moment, you'll see a perfect balance of support and challenge. And when you see both sides, you'll feel the love of this universe. And you'll see why that event happened for you, how it benefited you. And if that event never were to happen, how that would be a drawback to you, what you would be missing out on. You'll see that everything, all our pains and challenges, they happen for a reason. They happen for our growth, for our benefit. Okay, guys, I think that's a lot for one episode. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. I hope you got something out of this podcast. If you're interested in being coached by me, you can visit my website. It is spencelifecoaching.com. If you're interested in joining my online community, where I have training, I have courses, and live group coaching, then you can also find the link on my YouTube channel or on my Spotify. It'll be at the bottom of the show notes. And it's called Elevate Your Consciousness. And it'll be it's a school community. So there's an app. Thank you so much for joining me on Unlocking Potential podcast. I'll see you next time.